Hi, this is Laura from ABC English. In this grammar video, we're going to be looking at comparatives and superlatives. First of all, we'll take a look at the comparatives. Remember that we use comparatives if we're going to compare two things. We have to look carefully at the form of the adjective to know how to change the adjective to the comparative. For example, adjectives with one syllable, such as long, would add er. So longer than. The table is longer than the pen. Short adjectives ending in consonant, vowel, consonant would also add er, but we would double the final consonant. So in this case, big would become bigger with two G's. Adjectives with more than two syllables, for example, expensive, would change to more expensive than. In this case, the adjective itself doesn't change. It's only that we add more in front of the adjective and then after. Adjectives ending in y, this doesn't matter if they have 1, 2, 3 syllables. The number of syllables here isn't important. It's that the adjectives end in y and they take this form. So the y turns to the I, and then we use er again, just as we did with adjectives with one syllable. So for example, happy would become happier than. Superlatives take a similar form, but this time adjectives with one syllable, for example, tall, would become the tallest. So we'd add the and est to the adjective. Thin would become thinnest, and again, because it's a short adjective which ends in consonant, vowel, consonant, we would double the final consonant and it would become thinnest with two N's. Adjectives of more than two syllables, for example, exciting, would become the most exciting, and adjectives ending in y, for example, crazy, would become the craziest. We would change the y to the I and add est. Some exceptions to these rules would be good, bad, and far. Good becomes better in comparative and in the superlative form, the best. Bad would become worse and in the superlative, worst. And far in the comparative would be further or farther, or the superlative, furthest or farthest. We can use either spelling, either with U or with A. As for equality, if you want to say two things are very similar or the same, then we would use as. So he is as tall as his father. The sofa is as elegant as the armchair. We could use all of these to say something is more than another. But what happens when we want to say something is less? Well, we can do this in two forms. Either using the negative with as, for instance, he isn't as intelligent as his brother, or we could use less than. And the example would be, he is less intelligent than his brother. So we've now seen how to form and to use the comparative and the superlative, but what happens when we want to quantify the comparative? So we want to say that there's a big difference between two things, or maybe only a small difference between the two. Well, we would use, to make a big difference, far, a lot, or much. The sofa is a lot more comfortable than the chair. So we use the comparative as before, more comfortable than, comfortable has more than two syllables, so we use it with more than. But before that comparative, we would use one of these three adverbs. So in this case, a lot. For instance, he is much taller than his cousin. Again, the comparative with an adjective of one syllable, we would add er than, but before that, we would add much. The same would happen if we're talking about a small difference between the two, and we could use slightly, a little, or a bit before the comparative. So she is slightly more intelligent than her sister, or the pen is a little longer than the pencil. In the same way, we could also quantify in the superlative using by far. For example, he is by far the best, or he is notably the most intelligent. Okay, so I hope this helps, and you'll be able to use the comparative and the superlative, and also with the quantifiers.